Coming up on today's episode, I want to run through 3 trade offers the Falcons could make for Myles Garrett. ESPN's National Insiders listed the Falcons as one of 4 teams that could pursue the Cleveland Browns star defensive end. So I want to run through what the Falcons could offer to the Browns for 95. But it is important to remind you guys that the Falcons are not working with a lot of draft ammunition to offer up in a trade. They have a first, they have a second. Their third belongs to New England for Matthew Judon. They have a fourth. Their fifth was taken away for allegedly tampering with Kirk Cousins and Charlie Werner and Ray McLeod. And then their sixth was for Van Jefferson trade with the Rams or Contavious Street with the Eagles. One of those two, I can't remember. And then 2 7th-round picks. They have some of the worst draft capital for 2025 if you compare it to all 31 other teams. So they don't have a lot to spend on a Myles Garrett trade, but they do have enough. But it would definitely make them a little bit uncomfortable. So my first trade idea is a pretty simple trade. It's Atlanta gets Myles Garrett and Cleveland gets the Falcons' first-round pick this year and first-round pick next year. This is something the Falcons could easily do, and it also could be easily done when it comes to Myles Garrett's contract. He has 2 years left on his deal. The Falcons can absolutely afford acquiring Garrett. Do not let teams tell you they can't afford it. That is them trying to get off the hook of paying good players a lot of money. They can absolutely afford it, and I can break that down in another video. But this is ultimately what I think Cleveland would want in a Myles Garrett trade. They are not looking to trade him. GM for the Browns, Andrew Berry, has been pretty clear that he has no interest in trading Garrett. So we will see if this trade request is honored or if the Browns give him a big fat contract extension and all of a sudden Garrett says, you know what, on second thought, with $35 million in my bank account this year, I think I could win a Super Bowl here. So money talks, but Garrett does not seem all that motivated by money. He wants to win a ring. And I think he could look at the Falcons as a good destination, although he does not have a say in where he gets dealt. He does not have a no-trade clause, so it's not like he can veto any trade. And listen, I know 2 first-round picks is steep, and you don't see that very often, but we are talking about a guy who is a future Hall of Famer, and the Atlanta Falcons have never had success at drafting and developing pass rushers. So if it means they have to use 2 first-round picks to get 1 good player, whereas usually it's 1 first-round pick for 1 good player, that is a deal the Atlanta Falcons should make, considering they have never been able to use 1 first-round pick to get a good pass rusher. So if I am Terry Fontenot and I am the Atlanta Falcons GM, I am making that deal. I am sending 2 firsts to the Browns for Myles Garrett. Yes, you could use that 15th overall pick to draft an edge rusher, and that's not a bad plan or strategy. But we really think this 15th overall pick is going to turn into Myles Garrett? No, absolutely not. Myles Garrett's a future Hall of Famer, reigning Defensive Player of the Year. This, to me, is a no-brainer the Atlanta Falcons should at least pursue. Doesn't mean they're going to get him, but they should make an effort to acquire Garrett. That would be the smart thing for a team like Atlanta to do, coming off an 8-9 season where the thing holding them back by large was their lack of a pass rush, and acquiring a guy who has multiple straight seasons of 10-plus sacks. This is a home run. So let me know in the comments, would you be open to trading multiple first-round picks for Myles Garrett? I do not believe it would require 3 first-round draft picks, but I think 2 could very well be in play. So I do want to hear from you down below in the comment section, because we have a little bit of precedent when it comes to defensive players getting dealt for first-round draft picks. It's happened a little under 10 times in the last decade or so. Most recently, off memory here, Bradley Chubb going to the Dolphins from the Broncos for a first-round pick. There were some other later picks exchanged, but that was the big-ticket item going to Denver. Jamal Adams went for 2 first-round picks. Buckner went for a first. Jalen Ramsey went for 2 ones. I mean, I'm looking at these last 4 trades right here. Didn't go very well for Seattle, but it's worked out pretty well for the other 3 teams. It's worked out pretty well for the Steelers with Minkah Fitzpatrick. Frank Clark, I think, helped win the Chiefs a Super Bowl, so that's a trade I don't think Kansas City regrets. Khalil Mack, well, he did do his end of the bargain in Chicago. The Bears now hold up their end of the bargain with getting good quarterback play from Mitch Trubisky, but this feels like it could have a similar vibe to it, right? The Bears traded for Khalil Mack as Mitch Trubisky was entering the second year of his career in the NFL. And the Atlanta Falcons now are entering year 2 under Michael Penix. They might be trading for a former defensive player of the year. This is a very winnable division in the NFC South. The time to strike is right now if you're the Atlanta Falcons. The Buccaneers are not some mountain that you can't overcome. You're not hanging out with the Chiefs or the Eagles or a perennial AFC, NFC championship game contenders. There is a once-in-a-lifetime player available for trade potentially, and you have the means to acquire that player. Fontenot should exhaust every option to acquire Garrett. Before we check out the next 2 trade ideas for the Falcons, help us reach 33,000 subscribers here. We are a little under 300 subs away. So if you are looking for a free Falcons YouTube channel that's going to keep you up to speed on all things Myles Garrett and all things NFL offseason related, go ahead and click that free subscribe button down below. The second trade idea I want to look at, how about Garrett to the Falcons for first round pick this year, third round pick next year, and Kyle Pitts. Now we're starting to get a little bit more creative. It's not simple, cut and dry, 2 firsts for Myles. No, a first, a future third, and a starting tight end. We're going to look at this in more detail, but first things first, I do want to give a special shout out to our friends over at Game Time. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you do not have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. One thing I like about Game Time is their all-in pricing option. Toggling this feature shows the total upfront cost with no surprise fees at checkout. Plus, on Game Time, you can filter by city. So if you want to see what is going on in Atlanta, whether it's a Hawks game, a concert, or any other event in your local area, take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CHATSPORTS for $20 off. I put all of that information for you all in the comments and description of today's video. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. So picking up where we left off, trade Kyle Pitts potentially to acquire Garrett? I think this is definitely on the table. Terry Fontenot did not do his tight end any favors in the press conference at the end of the season. He publicly said Pitts was underwhelming and did not live up to expectations. So to me, that screams they are definitely interested in trading the former 4th overall pick. Plus, he has a little over $10 million guaranteed coming his way this year. So the Falcons could get some cap relief by trading Pitts away before taking on Myles Garrett's final 2 years of his contract. I'm all for trading Kyle Pitts at this point for the right deal. I don't think he's like untouchable. I'm not trying to trade him away for a bag of chips, but Myles Garrett's a little bit better than a bag of chips. So if you could toss him into a trade offer and reduce a future first being given up, I think that's something Atlanta should look into. Plus, the Cleveland Browns under GM Andrew Berry have shown an interest in acquiring highly drafted players before. They traded for Jerry Jeudy last offseason, and with Kevin Stefanski taking play calling duties back after Ken Dorsey, the OC last year, was fired, he likes to run a 2 tight end set. And he wants to try and find some offensive success with his back against the wall this year. He probably wants the right personnel for that, which means pairing David Njoku, their already star tight end, with Kyle Pitts could be an offense that Stefanski looks at and thinks, yeah, I can do some damage with this right here. This can help alleviate the loss of Myles, which is irreplaceable. But getting a first-round draft pick, 15th overall, the Browns could use that to draft a defensive end. They don't receive a future first rounder, but they do get a quality third round pick next year. And they get Kyle Pitts for the final year of his rookie option, and they might look to extend him and build around him in the future. Build around him is a strong word. Include him in their future plans. I don't think Pitts is a player you build around right now. Third trade idea. What about Garrett once again to Atlanta for a first round pick this year, of course. That's just built in, by the way. Fourth round pick as well. And then 2 players, Matthew Bergeron and Kirk Cousins. I think you could toss Kirk Cousins into any of these 3 trades right here. His contract is going to have to be reworked, but he has a no-trade clause, so he'll have to waive that. However, I think if he finds out, oh, there's a team out there that wants me, little old me, after the way I played last year, yeah, I'm all for it because right now I don't have a lot of suitors. So this would require a little bit of cooperation from Cousins to agree to waive his no-trade clause and also likely rework his contract in Cleveland. But I could see that getting done. The new name here is Matthew Bergeron, the second-round pick that the Atlanta Falcons traded up for 2 drafts ago. Yeah, he's played 2 years now. Time flies. And he has been a quality above-average starting guard. Played left tackle at Syracuse, moved to left guard for the Dirty Birds, and PFF ranked him 20th out of 77 qualifying guards. He did have a knack of getting penalties, and that was infuriating at times, but I think that's something that can be kind of coached up and coached out, and as you're in the league longer, those numbers can go down. Bergeron, in my eyes, might be the sweet spot of a quality starting player that the Falcons could live without, and the Browns could have interest in. You're not trading Jesse Bates away. You're not trading Bijan Robinson or Drake London. Like, those guys are off the table. But Bergeron is in that sweet spot of he's quality. He's a good starting player, but we also could live without him. Whereas that's not the case with some other guys on this team. So I would keep an eye on those types of players when you're ever thinking about including a player in a player-for-player swap. Now, as for Kirk Cousins, I do want to touch on this topic really quickly, but we'll spend more time talking about it in tomorrow's episode because I suspect we'll get some more updates and news and rumors to come out of it. But Cousins was on Good Morning Football, something I can't remember what it's called. He was on one of those shows, and on that show, he was doing some, damage control about maintaining his image, and he talked about the 2024 season and some injuries. And here's what he said. Against the Saints, I got hit pretty good in my right shoulder and elbow, and from there, kind of dealing with that was something I was working through and just never really could get it to where I wanted it. Remember, Raheem Morris said Kirk Cousins was not injured. So now we might have a little bit of a lying escapade here. Like, the Falcons did put Kirk Cousins on the injury report for 1 day after the Saints loss and before their game against the Broncos. But Cousins said, no, I was not supposed to be on it wasn't even a real injury report, by the way. It was an estimated injury report because walkthrough Wednesdays, they didn't actually do any real practice. But Cousins said that was a clerical issue. With how in bed the NFL is with gambling, they have to stay on top of the injury reports. Now, if Cousins was injured and did not say anything to the Falcons, no one's to blame here. Like, players keep injuries to themselves all the time because if they tell the team, they might lose their starting job and they might not have a job in the NFL moving forward. So there's no repercussions that could come to the Atlanta Falcons if Cousins was injured and just never told the team. But if he did make it aware to the team or the team knew about the injury and just lied about it on the injury report because they didn't want to get pressure from the outside to make a quarterback change, we have a serious problem on our hands here. I'm talking fines. I'm talking draft capital being stripped away. There will be a punishment that comes down if it is found out that the team knew about a Kirk Cousins injury and did not report it on the injury report. I'll end it with this here. One, I'm a little mad at myself that I did not make a bigger deal out of Cousins popping up on the injury report because it just, and I said this a million times over the last couple of weeks, it never made sense how Cousins just fell off a cliff. He was so good a few weeks before the 5-week stretch where he ultimately lost his job. So This injury explains a lot, and I'm choosing to believe he might not be completely washed with the shoulder injury, the elbow injury, and his throwing arm come out right as he enters that dreadful stretch of, 0 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, and 4 straight losses before picking up a pathetic win in Las Vegas against a beat-up Raiders team. And with all that being said, Kirk Cousins, he's not returning. Just the way he spoke today, I don't think he has any belief he is coming back to Atlanta. So let's revisit, though, the 3 trade ideas, and then on tomorrow's episode, we'll talk more about Kirk Cousins, and I'll kind of expand on it with more information coming in. I'll probably have a better, accurate take. But here are the 3 trade ideas I could see Atlanta offering up, and this just gives you a rough idea. We'll cycle through them, Dylan, of who could be going to Cleveland, what could be going to Cleveland, just a blueprint for you guys to look at and go, okay, so this is what it might cost to get Myles Garrett. Looking over these trades one last time, let me know which trade idea you would pursue. If you were Terry Fontenot, would you do trade idea number 1, 2 first-round picks? That's simple. Number 2, a future third and Kyle Pitts along with this year's 15th overall pick. Or maybe trade idea number 3, first and a fourth this year along with Matthew Bergeron and Kirk Cousins. Get in the comment section. I would love to hear from everyone which trade idea you think would make the most sense for the Dirty Birds.